Uh, right, dear students, wish you all a very, very good evening. Uh, so I think that step by step, we have reached the fifth competency today. Okay, so students, first and foremost, let me tell you, I highly appreciate the commitment that most of the students have regarding the subject. I think 95% of the students, right, are sending their tutorials, completed tutorials to me, right? And I have observed, right, the handwriting, okay, the completion of the tutorials are at its optimum level, optimum level. Now what to do is, Puta, just keep it up. It's a new subject. It is the first time that you theoretically studying on the subject called business, right? So Buddha, I have highly appreciate the commitment that most of the students have. There are some students from my school also, right? So listen to me. And to be honest, I haven't seen, right, most of the students in the class, right? It is the nature of the online class, Puta. But I'm quite sure that you have taken the maximum advantage of these sessions, especially the recorded sessions that you are going to get. Puta. So without wasting time, let's start the fifth competency. Right. Here we go. Today, it is the fifth competency. The name of the competency is accounting equation. Right. So before I start, let me briefly describe what we have discussed in the last competency. In the last competency, what we have discussed. Okay. Good. Now listen to me. Today, in the last competency, if you all can remember, I introduced the subject of accounting. මම පුතාලට මෙන්න මේ subject එක මම introduce කරා. Accounting. Right? Accounting. I told you very importantly that the subject of accounting okay, Dishan, it's all right. It's all right, Puta. It's all right. Send me the tutorial when you can, right? Kamak nahi padyo, kamak nahi. But I know that you are completing it, right? Okay, now listen to me. Pute. Okay, Puta. Okay, Dishans. Right. Now listen to me. Pute, I told you that the subject of accounting is a language. Okay, it's a language. Then I told you, right, in learning a new language, we have to know, we should know some, right, phrases, words or vocabulary. And there are some rules. Today, listen to me. Subject of accounting is also new language, right? So in the first competency, I introduced, right, you with a few words. I told you, I introduced a word called assets, liabilities, equity, income, expenses. These are the new words, but listen to me, these are just a few. We have many words to learn in the future. Let me tell you, let me come up with a few words like that. We have to learn, right, something called debit. Debit, important word. And the corresponding word is, good evening, Amir, good evening, Puta, right? Credit. Credit. Debit, credit. Then you discuss about cash. Then the cash is used for different purposes. We have to discuss about something called cash book, bank account, Okay, purchases, sales, a number of new words. So having introduced, right, the subject, today we are moving to our next topic, that is accounting equation. I think at this moment, right, since grade 7, you have came across number of equations in mathematics. Am I correct? Pruda, simply, right, an equation is a statement with two sides where it says that two sides are identical, equal. Side A is equal to side B. So the same principle is applied in accounting also. So accordingly, right, according to the subject of accounting, there is a side A and there is a side B. This lesson helps you to understand always side A is equal to side B. So I can create number of attractive questions on this. So even you can, if you look at the even if you look at the past papers, in every single O-level past paper, there is a question on accounting equation. Are we clear now? Great. Now what we should do is this. I think you all are ready with the tutorial. පුතා මම කියනවා මම හැම දවසකදීම බොහොම වැදගත් දේවල් ටිකක් කතා කරනවා, because I think you know that it's a huge ask for us, because we have just 56 weeks, right, per annum. So within those 56 weeks, sorry, 52 weeks, right, 52 weeks, we have to complete, right, a syllabus. It's a huge ask. So you can't ignore any of these sessions. So we'll see how well you will cooperate with me. Puta, today also, I'm ready with a very beautiful presentation. Right. Competency 5, the title of the competency is accounting equation. So I think you all are aware of this point now. මේ equation කෙනෙක් ගැන පුතාලා හැමෝම දන්නවා. මොකද්ද මේ equation එකක් කියන්නේ? මම දැන් ඔයාලට කිව්වා. Equation is something, right, which has two, it is a statement which states, okay, side A, one side is equal to the other. Right? So with that understanding, let's move to the discussion. Children, if you can't write the note now, my advice is first listen pute. Muli mahageninna passeliyan. Right. Puta, I'm starting the proceedings with this basic question. What is an equation? Today, as I told you, equation is a statement that the values of two mathematical expressions are equal, indicated by the sign equal sign. This is what you mean by an equation. Puta, write this part in this particular space with the red pen. It is not the definition of accounting equation, right? It is just the definition of equation. Now what it says? It tells you it is a statement that the values of two mathematical expressions are equal, indicated by the equal sign. Then, what are the characteristics of an equation? Make it මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? චුට්ටක් කල්පනා කරන්න පුතා. පොඩ්ඩක් ඔලුවට දාගන්න. Right? Try to recall something that you have learned in grade 7 or 8 regarding equations. Pute, look at these characteristics. These are the things that I have found. In an equation, right, there should be two sides. There are no equations just with a single side. always there should be two sides. Side A and side B. Second one, there should be an equal symbol, isn't it? In every single equation, there should be an equal sign to denote that, okay, side A is equal to side B. And the third one, two sides have to be equal always. Side A has to be equal to side B. තේරුණාද පුතේ? මෙන්න මේක ඉගෙන ගන්න මම කිව්වනේ මම පුතාට මේක අඩුම තැනින් ඉඳලා උගන්වන්නේ. I'm teaching this lesson from the least point where everybody can understand. Let's say that you are not good in maths, but still you can understand this. Puta, shall I tell you something? Right? Something very important, right? So listen to me. Education, right? It is a topic where it has a wide range of discussion. Education, right? Education is not just what we study in a book, right? Education can be anything. Education can be anything, right? What you have to do is, Puta, when you learn something, learn it with a passion. Let's say that you are good in IT, learn it with a passion. Still you all are small kids. Learn it with a passion. Let's say that you are good in, let's say, designing, graphic designing or anything, right? I know nothing about that. To be honest, I know nothing about graphic design, but I'm just telling you, if you're good in that, practice it hard, right? It is also an education. Trust me. And if you are good in schoolwork, if you can study well, if you can remember the things very easily, so use that particular particular facility in your mind. Advantage. Am I clear with you? Right? So let's discuss about this in detail, especially with my school kids when we get in the class, right? So trust me, there are no incompetent students. There are no incompetent students, right? All are, right? There is a competence in all of you, right? Identify that. Identify it. Sometimes, let me tell you, one of you become a good businessman. So I'm proud if one of you become a businessman. I can be proud of myself because I'm the person who taught you the business for the first time. Right. So let's get back to the lesson. Pute, it says, right, there should be two sides. There should be an equal symbol, and the two sides have to be equal with each other in every occasion. In every occasion, side A should equal to side B. Yes, Dinil, is there a question, son? You have raised your hand? Right. Let me tell you something, children. I told you something here. Let's say, right, we have an equation like this. Equation right? Side A is equal to side B. Let's say that you have added, right, 10 to this side. How to get this equal? The same value should be added to the other side, or you can do it like this way. Plus 10 from this side and minus 10 from this side. Again, the side A is equal to side B. Am I clear with you, Puta? Am I clear with you? Right? Is there a question? Adisha, what is the problem, Puta? I have sent you the tutorial. Still we are in the first page. Still we are in the first page. I'm just introducing the lesson. Okay, Adisha. I'm still in this topic. Tamat metani inne, right? Characteristics. I have just explained the characteristics. Okay, son? Right, great. Now, let's get back to the topic, accounting equation. Mokadda me accounting equation kiya? Accounting equation is the relationship between the assets of a business and the parties who own those assets. I give you 2 minutes to write this down. Right? Write this definition. Then I'm going to explain it. Hurry up. Okay, finished writing, Puta? Finished writing? Now look at this. Then right. Next is right. In other words, the accounting equation is the relationship between the assets of a business and who owns them. Same thing, okay? Same thing. Just write the first one down. Now. Pute, the first thing I need to highlight is this word. Accounting equation is a relationship. Highlight that word, relationship. Highlight karagan. It is a relationship. Between what? What are the two things that is going to be related with the accounting equation? It is a relationship between these two things. Assets of the business. I think you all can remember the definition of assets. And the parties, right, who own those assets. Parties who own those assets. Right, give me a minute. I'm going to highlight this phrase. Parties who own those assets. Right? Are we clear? Right. Now listen to me, Puta. Now, in accounting, the accounting equation simply, right, can be explained like this. I told you there should be two sides. In the basic equation, normal account, general accounting, general equation, we have side A and side B, right? Side A and side B, right? Now, this point says, okay, in accounting equation, right? In accounting equation, side A, in one side we have, right, assets. Assets. And on the other side we have, right, the parties, right, who owns the assets. Parties who owns the assets. Right? It has two sides. Assets equals to the parties who owns those assets. Puta dannawada? Make equation එක මෙහෙමත් ලියන්න පුළුවන් නේ මම දන්නේ නිකන් සරල දෙයක් කියන්නේ හරිද? If A equals to B, right? I can change the sides. B equals to A. Therefore, I can do the same thing to this side also. මේක මෙහෙම ඔයගොල්ලන්ට එන්නේ නැහැ. නිකන් මතක තියාගන්න. පුතා, right? If assets equal to the parties who own those assets, right? The parties equals to the assets. Assets. Are we clear? ඔන්න තීනා පුතා. පැහැදිලිද මං කියන දේවල් පුතා? Right. Now, let's get back to the lesson. Now, what is the how do we understand the basic accounting equation? How do you understand the basic accounting equation? Here we have it, right? This is මෙන්න තීනා පුතා. Assets equals to the parties who owns those assets. Right. Let's get back to the tutorial. So I think you all have written one definition of the accounting equation and highlighted it. Right. Now, look at the next one. Pute, do you know, in an accounting equation, in every equation, there are, look at this word, there are variables. Variables. What do you mean by variables, Puta? The things which can vary. Venas wenna puluwan dewa. In every equation, there are variables. Puti, ahagannako patiyo. Hondata ahagannako mama me kiyala denna de. Harida? Right. Now, in an accounting equation, right? These are the variables we have. Poda intakali mama mehema kiyala denna. Chuttak innako. Hondata ahaganna. Right. Look at this one. I just told you in an accounting equation, there are variables. I just told you, no, right? I have not introduced the accounting equation to you, but I told you something like this. In accounting, the equation can be developed like this. On one side, we can write assets. On the other side, we can write parties who own, the assets. Parties who own the assets. Right? In this accounting equation, I'm asking a small question. What are the variables? What are the variables? What are the things that which can be changed? In this equation, what are the variables? It's very simple. Dishans, Duniti, Amir, Adisha, anyone in the class, anybody. Netmi, Onita. What are the variables in this accounting equation? Exactly, Adisha, niyamai. Do you know, both these values can be changed. A can be changed, also B can be changed. Nishans, both these values can be changed. In this accounting equation, there is a non-variable. What is it? In this equation, forget about the first one. In the second equation, A and A equals B, what is the non-variable? Adisha කියන්න බලන්න. වෙනස් වෙන්න බැරි දේ මොකද්ද? හරිම lazy. You can see that. What can't be changed? මේ තින්නේ. මෙන්න මෙයාව වෙනස් වෙන්න බෑ. හරිද? The value of A can be changed, value of B can be changed, but equal sign can't be changed. Right? So I'm going to present a question like this now. Very interesting. Huh? I'm going to expand this equation like this. A equals, right? Yeah, we can change the signs. I told you that in the beginning, Dishans. You can change the signs. Huh? Look at this one. Okay, Dishans? Right? Now, A equals B plus C. Now think, according to your understanding, what are the variables we have in here? Make a variables monowada. What are the variables we have in this equation? I need your answers. Dinet, Adisha, I need your answers. Let's communicate. Very good, Adisha. Very good. Very good. Netmi, Janidu, try ekak denna petiyo. Huh? Onita, Resen Fernando, Vibu. What do you think? What are the things which can be changed? Think. Right now, look at this, Puta. It's very simple. Yes, Duniti. Very good. Very good. You can change the value of A, value of B, and also value of C. There are no restrictions. There are no restrictions. Then I have a question, Puta. In the second equation, what are the non-variables? Duniti, that is correct. In this one, what are the non-variables? Yes පුතා නියමයි ජනිදු මේ තින්නේ you can't change this sign and the plus sign equal sign and the plus sign දැක්කද these are very important right to an accounting equation because you have to check whether the total of the asset side is always equal to the other side. I have not given the complete right what includes the parties, but you have to understand that in every single right moment assets should equal to the other side, addition of the other side. Got the idea? Great. Let's move to the discussion today. These are the variables in the accounting equation. First one, resources. Second one, parties who provide those resources. I think I told this to you. Puta, resources are also called as, in accounting, it is also called as assets. Assets. Right? And there are two parties in the accounting equation. Parties who these resources are provided to a business by two different parties. අපි මෙහෙම කියමු. මේක දැම්ම ලියන්න එපා හොඳේ. පුතා. Some right of the resources are provided to the business by okay මේක තමයි assets කියලා කියන්නේ. හරිද? පොඩ්ඩක් මේ දෙක ලියන්න එපා දැම්ම. Don't write this. Okay. Now look at this. Resources are called as assets. Parties who provide the resources are right concluded as equity and liabilities. මම මෙහෙම ලියලා දෙන්න ඔක්කොටම කලින්. Right, regarding these parties. පුලින් මෙහෙම ලියා ගන්නවා පුතේ. Right? The resources are provided to the business by two different parties. හරිද? First one. Okay. First party is right owners. Sometimes the owners are providing resources to a business. And that portion is called as equity. Yeah, Dishans, I'll let you know. I'll let you know. You have to write this part in here. Variables. But listen to me now. First listen to me. Okay? Pute. Look at this. Now what I've told you, there are two parties, right? There are two parties who provide resources to a business. First one is owners. Okay. The amount of resources or assets which have been provided by the owners are called as equity. Are we clear? The amount of assets which have been provided to a business is recognized as equity of the business. Harini. Then, right, sometimes the resources are provided to a business also by external parties. Sometimes the resources are provided to a business by the external parties, and that is introduced as liabilities. Now puta, this part has to be written. When I switch the screen, these writings will be disappear, right? So let me tell you where to write this one. Right? First one, the following variables found in the accounting vision. First one you have to write. In here you have to write this, right? Look at first one, resources. Within brackets, assets. Here you have to write parties right? Provided resources. Parties provided resources, right? Then here you have to write it like this way. The resources are called as assets. Assets. Okay. Sometimes the parties, there are two parties who provide the resources, owners and external parties. The amount of assets which have been provided by the owners are called as equity, and the amount of assets provided by the external parties are recognized in accounting as liabilities. Liabilities. This is how you complete the tutorial. Harida. Hari. Demam putalagen lazy prashnayak kahana. Right? By using these three words. Harida. Using these three words, assets, equity, liabilities. Can you form the accounting equation? Anyone in the class? How do you form? Mama nikang hanang ko that A equals B plus C kila ka mama kakliwan. How do you develop that equation? By using these three words. Puluwang wenna mo nila. I told you in the accounting equation, we have two sides. Assets and parties provided the resources. Now, what has to be the correct accounting equation? It is, now listen to me. I'm erasing this. I'm erasing this. Right? ඔන්න එකක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. හරියට හරියොනිත නියමයිනේ. ඔය තියෙන්නේ. ඔනිත නියමයි. හරි මං හිතුවා කීප දෙනෙක් හරි මේක කියයි කියලා මට. එක්කෙනයි කිව්වේ කමක් නැහැ. Okay ඔනිත, highly appreciate your hard work. Right, great. Now listen to me. Now listen to me. Accordingly, I wanted to highlight this part in the tutorial. Accordingly, the assets of a business, right? Highlight this one. Assets of a business originally owned to the parties who have introduced them to the business, isn't it? They are owned by two different parties. And this is how you recognize the basic accounting equation, son. Assets. Wait. Assets equals what? Equity plus what puta? Liabilities. Onita niyamai. This is how you, right? This is how you recognize the, this is what you called as the basic accounting equation. Highlight that as well. What is the basic accounting equation? Assets equals equity plus the liabilities. Okay, great. Great. Now, let me take you again to the presentation. Right, here we go. This is the statement which I asked you to highlight. Accordingly, the assets of a business are originally owned to the parties who have introduced them to the business. Got it? Great. Now, the basic accounting equation, I just told you the basic accounting equation, where assets equals equity plus liabilities. පුතේ තව පොඩි දෙයක් මම ලියලා දෙන්නම්. මතකද? I told you in every accounting equation we have variables. Okay, so in this accounting equation, the variables are as follows. Assets is a variable, equity is a variable, liabilities is a variable. Agreed? And also in this equation, children, we have non-variables. Make it non-variables. Now, what are those non-variables? Equal sign and the plus sign are recognized as non-variables. Those signs cannot be changed. Those signs cannot be changed. Got it? Next week, mama calculations godak arangenama meka mataka tiyaganna ඕනේ. හරිද පැටියෝ? නියමයි. Now, let's get back to the presentation. Right? අපි ආපහු යමු අපේ tutorial එකට. මෙන්න තියෙනවා පුතා. Business entity concept. Business entity concept. So let me tell you, right? Let me explain the meaning of that concept with a small, right, a diagram, a small, right, picture, right? Let's say, give me a minute. අපි හිතමු පැටියෝ මේ තමයි, this is the owner of the business. අපි අපොඩ ලස්සන කරමුකෝ. This is the owner of the business, right? May ඉන්නේ owner. This is the owner of the business. Okay, I'm not good in art, right? This is the owner of the business, right? Okay, and this is his business. මේ තියෙන පුතේ යාගේ business එක. Let's draw it like this way. අපි මෙහෙම අඳිමු කාගේ business එක. This is his business. Okay, මේ තියෙන යාගේ business එක. Right? Once again, children, this is the owner and this is the business. Right, Pute? What is the topic that we are discussing? Make a lesson concept එක අපිට මේක මේ විදිහට O level දිහන්නේ. But remember this, the concept I'm going to speak here is accounting unit, or it is also called as business entity concept. හරිද? අපි ඔකටම කියනවා මම තීරේ වචනෙම ලියන්නම්කෝ පුතා. Right? අපි තීන වචනේ මම ලියන්නම්. Give me a minute. So the word that they have given here is puta business entity concept. Business entity. By when nepa වචනෙට. පුතේ, now I have a question. Business, right? Can it මම මෙහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහනවා. Business, right? Do we consider it as an entity or element or a person who has a life? This business has a life. Can it act personally, individually? No, we can't. Business cannot. Because all the decisions which are taken by the business are actually taken by the owners and the managers. Right? But listen, look at this very carefully. for the purpose of accounting. Accounting, for the purpose of accounting only, okay? Right? According to this concept, business entity, it says, right? The owner and the business are recognized as two separated entities. Are we clear? It says, okay, it is true that the business can't act alone, but for the purpose of accounting, we assume owner is different from its business, or business is separated from its owner. In other words, right, it says for the purpose of accounting, business is recognized as an artificial person. For the purpose of accounting, මෙයාව නිකන් අජීවී කෙනෙක් විදිහට අපි මේවා සලකනවා, right? Amicably with there is no person like that, but we assume business has, right, a separate existence from its owner. පැහැදිලිද මං කියන දේ පැටියෝ? හොඳට අහගෙන ඉන්න. Owner and the business. Now let me take you to another, right, part of the session. මම පුතාලා ආව presentation එකට ගෙනියනවා. It is the business entity concept. This concept assumes that the business and the owner as different parties. I think is the other tutorial. Highlight what is given in red. Second point, in other words, this concept assumes that the business is different from its owners. Okay. Third, accordingly, how to understand, in recognizing the transactions, we have two perspectives. Right? Right. Now look at this whiteboard again. Now let's say, right, there is a transaction. Let's say we have a transaction. Transaction paid salaries to the staff, rupees 20,000. Now, do you understand, right? According to the business entity concept, right, there are two perspectives. First one is this: how the owner observes this transaction, owner's viewpoint. And the second is business's viewpoint. Now we have two perspectives: how the owner sees this transaction and how the business observes this transaction. Do you know, in accounting, we can use only one perspective. And do you know what is it? In accounting, puta, hondata haganna. In accounting, we never use the owner's perspective. We never recognize transactions from owner's viewpoint. අපි අයිතිකාරයා දකින්නේ කොහෙත්ම සලකන්නේ නැහැ. We always observe how the business recognizes or observes this transaction. It is something very important if you want to understand this subject, right, clearly. Always what we use, how the business recognizes this. Business එක කොහොමද මේක recognize කරන්නේ? What is it for the business? මේ transaction එක business එකට මොකක්ද? අන්න ඕක අපි දැනගන්න ඕන. Right? You have to recognize, okay, for the business, what is this transaction? Not for the owner. That is what we do in accounting. Are we clear? Are we clear? Puta, the presentation tries to tell you that. It tries to tell you, right, look at this. Accordingly, we have two perspectives: owner's perspective and business perspective. So always remember, in recognizing transactions, we never use owner's perspective, but we always use, right, the business's perspective. Are we clear? Let's get back to the tutorial. In other words, accordingly, the business and the owners are considered as different parties. Highlight that. In other words, this concept assumes that the business is different from its owners. And very specially, in accounting, we use, highlight this one, business's perspective. How the business recognizes it, not the owner. We never keep accounts according to the owner's viewpoint. We always use business's viewpoint. For an example, when an owner has introduced 400,000 as capital, the business recognizes this transaction like this. Right. I think you all can remember this. Equation. Assets equals what? Equity plus liabilities. Now, what is the first transaction? The owner has introduced 400,000 to the business as equity. What happens? Assets plus 400,000. Agreed. In this side, what happens? In this side, what happens? Equity plus 400,000. Am I correct? Am I correct? See, equation, accounting equation. Assets of the business increased. Assets of the business increased. Equity of the business increased. How do you record this transaction in the accounting equation? Let me write this down. Obtained a bank loan, right? Valued rupees 50,000. Yes. Tell me how you record this transaction in this accounting equation. Anybody in the class? Without the make a record current equation. From the business's viewpoint, what happens? Anybody? Can we consider it as equity? Let me. When you obtain a bank loan, what do you receive? You receive cash. Cash is an asset. Therefore, once again, as a result of this transaction, assets increased by 50,000. Exactly reason. Niyamai pute. Oy tiyenne onno oka accounting equation kiyanne. Ochcharai wenne. Pute දැන් මොකද වෙන්නේ? Does it increases equity? No. This loan was not provided by the owner. It was provided by the bank. Bank is an external party. Therefore, what happens this time? Liabilities increased by 50,000. තේරුණාද? See? නිකන් අපි additions අරගෙන බලමුද මේ? මම නිකමට අපි additions අරගෙන බලමු මේ equation එක tally වෙනවද කියලා. Assets, what is the addition? 450,000. Equity and the liabilities balance. What is the total equity? 400,000. And liabilities? 50,000. See? Assets equal to the addition of equity and the liabilities. This is what you mean by the basic accounting equation. This particular right agreement has to be satisfied everywhere. Are we clear? Hari. ඊළඟ සතියේ ලෑස්ති වෙලා ඉන්න හොඳ මම ප්‍රශ්න කීපයක් මම calculations ගොඩක් දානවා මේකේ. හරිද? Right children. Let's get back to the right tutorial. අපි tutor එකට යන්න. හරිද? දැන් අහගෙන ඉන්න. මේ බලන්න පුතා. For an example, when an owner has introduced 400,000 as capital, it makes the following changes in the business. Assets increased by 400, equity capital increased by 400. It means when the owner has introduced all its assets to offer business, they belong to the owner himself. පැහැදිලිද? පැහැදිලිද? Right. අපි දැන් මේක ඉක්මනට කරගමු පුතා. දැන් මේ පැත්තට කරන්ට් එක යන්න ළඟයි. 5 o'clock මේට කරන්ට් එක ගන්න තියෙනවා. මම ඉක්මනට මේක හදන විදිහට කියලා දෙන්න. Sarath has introduced 300,000 as capital in the business. Record this transaction in the following accounting equation. Okay, let's move to the right. Now what happens? In equation 1, assets plus, you have to use the plus sign, 300,000 ලියාගන්න මාත් එක්ක as a result of this transaction, because Sarath is the owner, he has introduced 300,000 as capital. Capital is equity. Equity, you have to use the plus sign, 300,000. Now listen to me, this is not like maths. In accounting, using of the signs are very important. When the value increases, use the plus sign. If it is decreases, use the right minus sign. This is the answer for activity number 1. Let's move to the next one. Good. Balan ilang question. Pahasara has started a business investing the following assets as capital. Now listen to me. The owner can invest capital in different forms. This owner has introduced a land to the business, furniture to the business, office equipment to the business, and also cash. Capital can be introduced in different ways. So the first one, what is the total capital introduced by Pahasara? So the value is obtained like this: 150,000 plus, 120,000 plus, 70,000 plus by 60. Again, total එක බලමු කීයද කියලා? Total is 400,000. Pahasara, the answer for part A is this. The total capital introduced by Pahasara is the addition of these 4 figures. That is rupees 400,000. Agreed? Listen here, the patio. ආසාවෙන් කරගන්න පුතා. හරිද? The Pahasara, the owner, has introduced capital worth 400,000. Don't ever think that the capital is only cash. No. He can introduce capital in any form he like. Now, B. Record this transaction, the following accounting equation. Puta, what happens after all these transactions? Assets increased by how much? 400,000. Equity increased by 400,000. This is what happens in the business. Write this down. Good. Now look at the next one. Now, now, when Sarath introduces cash or assets to the business, what happens? Assets increases. No. Look at this one. Now, I told you, according to the business entity concept, business is separated from its owner. Remember that. Now, this time, Sarath, right? Sarath has, highlight this word, make highlight karaganna, withdrawn. It means taken back. He introduced, now he is taking back 14,000 for his personal use. Who can tell me the impact of this transaction? Harima lazy. Anybody in the class? When Sarath introduced, what did we do? We added 300,000 to assets, and equity also increased by 300,000. Now this time, Sarath is taking out 14,000 for his personal use from the business. So how the business records this transaction? Anyone? Anybody in the class? ඔන්න උත්තරයක් එනවා. බලමු හරිද කියලා. නියමයි අදීශ. present ඔය තින්නේ පැටියෝ. ඔය තියෙන්නේ ඈ. මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? Now forget about equity. Present I haven't discussed about equity yet. අදීශ. What happens here? අනේ පැටියෝ අනිත් ළමයිනුත් මේ බොහොම ලේසි subject එකක්. එකතු වෙනවද අඩු වෙනවද කියලා බලන්න. එච්චරයි කරන්න ඕනේ. මේ assets minus 14,000. Assets of the business decreased by 14,000. Exactly, right? Equity is also decreased by 14,000. That's what happens. That's what happens. Diniti echara duru ganna epa puta. Forget about that 400,000 thing. 14,000 decreased from assets, and equity is also decreased by 14,000. See, this is how the business observes this transaction, not the owner. Not the owner. Number 4, Pahasara has withdrawn office equipment valued 70,000 from the business. Record this transaction. Now what happens? When Pahasara introduced, we added that to the assets. Equity is also increased. Now Pahasara is withdrawing office equipment for his private use out of the business. දැන් බලන්න business එක කොහොමද මේක දකින්නේ? How the business observes this? මේ බලන්න පුතා. Assets of the business decreased by 70,000, and equity is also decreased by 70,000. ඕක නෙමෙයිද බලන්න වෙන්නේ? Isn't it? This is what happens. හොඳට මේක ආපහු recording එක ආයි අහන්න. Puti, I forgot to tell you. I'm starting a physical class in Moratuwa in the beginning of in the month of May. May Masi. Harida. I'll let it is the date is going to be either a Tuesday or a Thursday. Or the was the king because I have to start for grade 10 and 11. I have to decide the date. If you have your any friends, alut yalu innona alut subject එකක් නේ. Please inform them that I'm starting a class, right? It is a physical class. I will let you know the place. It is in the right center of Moratuwa, near to St. Sebastian's College, right? So those who want, right, please, I'll send you a handbill to the group. You can share it with the class, right? Anyone, right? Any friends? When is called Lama Harikamak na inwana kiyanna. Hondatu gannana. I'll let you know the time. It is starting at 3 p.m. Okay, right? The starting time is fixed. The date will be a Tuesday or a Thursday. Okay, 3 to 4:30. 1.5 hours. That is enough, right? That is what I have scheduled. If you have your friends, you can inform that to the right among your friends. Puta. So we'll see. I'll do everything that I can. Online you will get the recording, but those who want the physical experience, they can come and attend that class. And let's get back to the 5th activity. Activity number 5. The owner introduced 150,000 as capital. Now what happens? Assets plus 150, right? And equity plus 150. Right? Now, if you want, you can write what increases. What is the asset that increases? Cash. Equity, capital. Increased equity is named as capital. It is how we record the first transaction. Transaction B, who can guess? What increases as a result of the second transaction? what happens in the accounting equation first? The owner introduced a motor vehicle value 170,000 as capital from the business's viewpoint. And assets increased by 170,000. So as the equity 170. But this time the increased assets is called as what? Motor vehicles. Increased equity is called as capital. දැක්කද පැටිය? ඔන්න ඔච්චරයි තියෙන්නේ. ඊටු ටික පුළුවන් ද බලන්න? see අපි ඒකත් කරලා දෙමුකෝ. අහගන්නකෝ. Own increased office equipment 60,000. Assets plus 60. Equity plus 60. Agreed? Then what are the names? Increased assets is called as office equipment. Increased asset is once again called as what? Capital. Then, transaction D. The owner withdrew, the owner withdrew 15,000 for his personal use. Then from the assets the owner is withdrawing. So what happens here? Assets minus 15,000 and equity is also decreased by 15,000. Now, now listen to me. The decreased asset, decreased asset this time is cash. And decreased equity is capital. Capital. Agreed? Last one. The owner withdrew goods valued 8,000 from his private use. Okay, mami vashani kela dennam puta. Goods, right? Now this time, do you know what happens? Once again, an asset decreases. 8,000, equity decreases 8,000. The decreased asset is inventory. And decreased equity is once again capital. Are we clear? Oh no, my complete current. So I'm going to give you a homework today. You have to watch the recording session. It is compulsory. Now this is what I'm going to give this as a homework. When make a homework, right? You have to say how much increases. You don't want to recognize what increases, but you have to recognize how much increases and decreases. Got it? Now, this is how I am introducing the accounting equation to you guys. So, Puta, it is the time, right, of the class now, because we have a power failure, right? I don't know, we have the power failure at 5 o'clock, but still it is not, it has not been moved yet. So anyway, as you have taken a valuable knowledge today, so practice it at home. And children, as that 90%, I want to see all your tutorials. Once it is completed, please send it to me along with this homework. And those who are watching the recorded session also, it is compulsory for them. Please complete this tutorial and please send it to me for corrections. So in the next week, we are moving to a few calculations. Until that happens, stay safe and may God bless you. Good night. And children, once again, listen to me. If you have your friends, inform them about the class. We are starting it in the on the first week of May. Right. Thank you very much. God bless you. Good night.